I am someone living with epilepsy. I was diagnosed at 22. And when I came into the space and came into this role, I recognized that many in our community were still having the same journey that I had at 22, which was 30 years ago. And that needed to change.
I'm Kent Leyde, CEO of Cadence Neuroscience.
And I'm Doug Sheffield, Chief Scientific Officer.
You're listening to Seizure Diaries, where we explore all things epilepsy and explore the latest developments in epilepsy science and therapy.
Together, and with expert guests, we discuss the impact of epilepsy and the work being done by Cadence Neuroscience and others with the ultimate goal that every person lives a seizure-free life. Welcome.
Hey, Doug, welcome to another podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's meeting folks from the Epilepsy Foundation.
Yeah, we've got some really interesting guests here to introduce everybody. Bernice Martin-Lee, who's the CEO of Epilepsy Foundation. B, welcome.
Thank you, Kent. Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
Yeah, fantastic. And Grzeskowiak. Caitlin, welcome.
Hi.
And Caitlin, I think you changed titles since I last looked you up on LinkedIn or something, but you're the Chief Research and Innovation Officer.
That's an impressive title.
Right on. Yeah, you're going to need bigger business cards.
Yeah.
We get a lot done, so.
Yeah, well, we're interested in hearing more about that here. So.
Yeah, we definitely have a rock star in Caitlin. So she's doing amazing things in the research department.
Yeah. So I thought maybe it'd be good to get started with some introductions so people get to know both of you a bit better. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got here and your previous work leading to the Epilepsy Foundation?
I came to the Epilepsy Foundation in July of 2023 after a good friend of mine nominated me for the role. And to be quite honest, I was a bit surprised when I got the call from the recruiter because I had not disclosed my epilepsy in the workplace for many years.
Oh,
many years.
Interesting.
Many
so
years.
That was a random connection, I guess.
I am someone living with epilepsy. I was diagnosed at 22. And when I came into the space and came into this role, I recognized that many in our community were still having the same journey that I had at 22, which was 30 years ago. And that needed to change.
Is that like when you first experienced this, were you experiencing stigma and it was all kind of mysterious and, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. I had my first seizure at 19 and I was diagnosed at 22. And unfortunately, that's typical in our community to have those many years without diagnosis. And when I was diagnosed, my first experience in the clinic with a neurologist was not a positive one.
Questioning your explanation of symptoms or?
I was on a medication that just was not working for me. I was sleeping 14 hours a day. And, I didn't have advocacy language to talk about what could or should change for me. And I went into my neurologist's office and just said, this isn't working. I have really diminished quality of life. And he said, well, you can go on long-term disability. I was 22.
Yeah, that's probably wasn't your plan, right?
Right.
I'm just getting started. I want to go do things.
I got my first big girl job. I was ready to take on the world. And through that conversation, I was asking a lot of questions like, what does that mean? How would you go about it? All of those questions. And he said to me, well, this should not be difficult for you, as I'm sure you're on some other type of assistance.
Unbelievable.
Oh, man. Wow. Okay.
That was my first encounter truly with health equity, right? Just the assumption that was made in that room. Now, I was very, very lucky, and I'm going to even say the word blessed, that I was able to connect with another neurologist because my family members were working in healthcare and were able to connect me.
And that's what it took, was some kind of networking kind of connections to find somebody that you could work with.
My mom was a nurse, and
there you go.
She was from a generation of you listen to your doctor,
right?
You listen to your doctor. But when I came home and was telling her what the doctor had said and what that would mean for my life, she said, "Well, let's talk to someone else. I know somebody." She had been a nurse for 30 years. Of course, she knew somebody, right? And I met with a new neurologist, and I was a little hesitant at first because of the experience I had.
Yeah.
But he changed my life because he was like, let's just look at another medication. We can do that.
Started working for you and with you.
Partnering with me, very apropos, he said, you need to start a seizure diary, which I had
There you
not had
go.
before.
There you go. Yeah. Wow. Really?
um,
Okay. Such a basic thing.
yeah, and I had never been told that, like, when are your seizures happening? And he really helped me come up with a plan that improved my quality of life. And, I recognize that when I talk with people in the field, when I talk with patients and families, many of them are still having that difficulty connecting with a neurologist. That
Yeah.
really helps them support their best quality of life.
Well, a lot of patients spend a long, long time with their neurologist before getting referred up to an epileptologist. And it seems like a
Yes,
surprising number of people with epilepsy aren't even aware that tertiary centers and epileptologists exist. It's like, what? You're kidding
absolutely.
me. There's specialists here? I didn't know that. You're one of those people, sounds like.
And I would say that even having access to a neurologist is better than some people in our rural communities and our hard to reach areas have. They're receiving their care through primary care physicians.
Yeah.
They have very limited knowledge of epilepsy.
Yeah. And those are very overstressed systems these days. And that picture is not getting better, right? I mean, we're seeing
No,
rural hospitals get closed and under a lot of financial stress. And yeah, it's interesting that you really experienced a lot of the same challenges that Epilepsy Foundation is seeking to address today. That really is a kind of a perfect circle of kinds, isn't it?
it really is, and it makes the work so meaningful, right? My lived experience that I bring to my role really does help us as an organization understand the patient journey,
Yeah.
right? Because it's so personal to me, and it really sometimes angers me when I hear that patients are still facing the same challenges.
Yeah.
But the foundation has really embraced our vision, so no one faces epilepsy alone, and that's what we're really trying to accomplish. In my early journey, I felt very alone. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know where to get materials or information or resources. And I just want to make sure that no other person that's diagnosed with epilepsy has that journey.
I think I saw some words to that effect in your mission slides on the website. Are those new words that you helped put in there?
Yes. So the team and I, when I started about 2 years ago, decided that it was time to refresh our mission and vision. And it started with understanding who we serve. Our board and our senior leadership said we are here for the patient and the caregiver and the family. Then the next question is, why are we here for them? So they don't face epilepsy alone. That's why we're here. Our mission is to improve the quality of life of those affected by epilepsy through education, advocacy, research, and connection. Again, not being alone in this journey.
Caitlin, we ought to get you in on the
Yeah.
discussion here and maybe tell everyone a little bit about your background.
I come into this kind of from the other side of things, which is a scientist by training. So
Left brain, right brain kind of thing. Is that what we're doing here?
I did my PhD in genetics, and that was very interesting to me. I have a bachelor's degree in political science, so I had this kind of interest in how science affects society. So I spent a lot of years in the lab working with mice, and kind of realized that we have to think much more short term, actually, about problems that plague people today, how we can potentially impact the future in 10 years or so when these mice move forward into other screening programs, right? And so that actually was really catalyzed by the fact that my PhD advisor got sick while I was there.
Oh, wow.
He was diagnosed with a very rare sarcoma and passed away while I was working there. I think that seeing somebody who was such a prominent scientist and had access and resources to everything and still couldn't get to the right place, even though you have all the connections and everything, really taught me that there's a lot more we can do about policies and advocacy for people who are going through these things today. So then I worked at a nonprofit called Research America, and I was their civic outreach managers. And so that's when I met Brandy and Sonia and Jackie. And they had this amazing portfolio of work at the Epilepsy Foundation. And one of the, kind of main pillars of the focus was this focus on data, collecting data, sharing data, getting data from as a nonprofit and stewarding it for people. And I knew that that was going to be a key for what I wanted to spend my time thinking about. So through leadership with B and through a lot of the great work of Jackie and Brandy and Sonia, through these amazing collaborative efforts that Sonia built while at the Epilepsy Foundation, we really were set and ready to go to build really, really unique and interesting data collection platforms that we can use for research.
So you found a way to take a basic science background, a very hardcore science background in general, and move it a lot closer to the unmet need and to direct application in epilepsy, sounds like.
Yeah. So I kind of inched towards that each step. And, you can look back and say, oh, that makes sense wherever, where you end up. But that's really where I found my home. And, epilepsy is such a special community. And, everybody says that, but it's so true. So
I agree.
where
Doug
I am.
and I talk about that a lot, about the relationships we have in this community.
I wanted to pick up on your theme of these databases, because that's music to our ears. You probably heard of NeuroVista, and we had seizure prediction. That was a great science venture in terms of really understanding what are the EEG events that are associated with the person actually having a seizure, and providing some ability of patients to be aware of, hey, it's the likelihood of I'm going to have a seizure today is life-changing. But that theme, though, of collecting data and databases, when we look at that database lives on and has fueled, I don't know how many PhDs in neuroscience, and it's sort of one of our passions as we move forward with Cadence. And as I meet with pediatric epilepsy centers to recruit for our clinical study to get approval, one of the things that we've shared, because it's part of our core beliefs, is that all of the sites participating in the study will have access to everybody's data. So it's going to be a shared database, and I think it's just smart. Smart to develop shared databases, but the Stanfords of the world, because they're going to be a clinical site, and Seattle Children's and all the preeminent sites that we're working with, we're going to learn from them. Those researchers, as they look at the data, and will be a shared experience rather than just trying to keep the data close to ourselves and not open it up. So it sounds like that's still one of your missions moving forward.
It's actually a very large part of the organization. Today, we are actually launching a platform called Empowered on November 1st. And it's a revolutionary platform that turns epilepsy insights into advancements. And what do I mean by that is that we are going to launch a platform where we are asking patients to allow us to steward their data in the Empower platform to be used to spur innovation with pharma, biotech, and medtech. Empowered is about your life, your data, your impact. And we're very excited about it. Caitlin is our PI on the project, and I would love for her to talk more about the work.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Absolutely. And I think going back to one thing that Doug mentioned too around collaborative efforts, like that's really why the Epilepsy Foundation is so uniquely positioned to offer something like this, because we connect with the community regularly through a lot of our connection and support programs, our helpline, but translating those learnings and the inquiries we get from people who are living with epilepsy today or caring for someone with epilepsy today, we have to figure out how to accelerate the ability for us to take those questions and those unmet needs in those areas where there's friction and really turn that into something where people can address that through this data collection. One journey is one journey, but we really need lots of journeys. And so that's sort of the essence of building this platform. So, collecting demographic information is important, but beyond that, it's also about quality of life. It's also about whether, you are still experiencing seizures or, even people who have been seizure free for a long time. We find a lot of those folks are so grateful that they have come to that point and want to give back. So they want to be part of the registry to learn a lot about how their insight can help other people. This is really going to be a way for us to give access to not only the community at large, and the epilepsy community, but also the research community, so that it's really a stewardship, as Bea said, around an ecosystem of data.
So tell us about the system and the devices and the data that's being collected and how it's going to be made accessible. How's that all going to work?
It's being built right now, and
You
I
have
will
30 seconds. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're in production. We're launching our beta testers. We're going to have 250 folks come on and teach us what we need to know, because this is definitely a bi-directional relationship with the community to understand kind of what they want to share and what we need, and having those conversations and really building trust, combating misinformation. All of that plays into it. So really sharing a lot of that information to the community. So the platform that we're using actually allows people to have instant insights back. So if you put in your data, you get to see back the community's responses. And that's a really important feature.
Nice. So that's an incentive to contribute to as a community member, as you get some benefits too.
Yeah, and it's not only that, Ken, but when we talk to people in our research ambassador program or other connection points we have with the community, whenever someone participates in a study, they're so excited at the beginning. And then at the end of the study or 2 years later after the study, they have no follow-up to what happened with that data. So then, they're not out there advocating for others to get involved, and they're not championing that because they didn't know what we learned. And it's also just the system is anonymized such that there's relationships where you can't know who's in the sites, right? But we, as the Epilepsy Foundation, have a real opportunity to build bridges there and give people that data back. And that's really a critical partnership.
Because maybe as researchers, we're not doing a great job helping people understand how much they helped us.
And as you think about epilepsy, the biggest anxiety around epilepsy is not being in control, right? Not having control. And so when we talk about empowerment, I typically don't use the word stigma because, as one gentleman told me when I was with our community, is that when you use the word stigma, it actually further stigmatizes me.
It's a label.
Right. It's a label on them as opposed to the word empowerment. Like, you can actually be a partner in this journey. You can have control over your journey. And the Empower platform is the place in which someone can have that control, right? I'm submitting my data. I'm expecting impact. I can actually monitor that impact, and then I can continue to contribute because, like we said, this is a living data set. So you're not just going to be asked to contribute data once, but continuously over a lifetime, right? We want you to continue to engage with the system, with the platform, so you can get better insight, not only for yourself, but also supporting the rest of the community. I'm really excited about Empower because, again, we are stewarding this data. The patient always owns their data. We are different from other platforms in which they take the data and they own it. You can opt out of the system at any time because you own your data.
I think people would like the idea of partnering with, with that kind of thing with a nonprofit. It's a cleaner social contract, I think. Caitlin, I want to keep having you educate me about the extent of this effort. My lights are turning on slowly here. I'm realizing what a big effort this is. So you're talking about some very complex data sources from a bunch of different diagnostic instruments and modalities. If you're tapping into things like, I think everybody knows what Epic is from going to the doctor's office, but these are big, complex IT systems, and they're guarded carefully by IT groups at hospitals. So just getting permission to tap into them is, I think, takes an act of Congress. So,
well, I think we're working with, first of all, our Chief Technology Innovations Officer, David Jost, has been instrumental in building this. And he was also the architect of my Seizure Diary and just been with the foundation for a very long time and deserves all the credit. And I on getting that set up and establishing relationships with our platform and doing our tech stacks. So that's all credit to David on setting all of that up. But we do want to, understand how we can combine data sets to empower our research community, right? If you take a look at EHR data today, because of the 21st Century Cures Act, you have to actually release your clinical notes to the patient. And so that allows for a lot of folks to tap into the patient portal to get a lot of information from the EHR.
This is a new portal you're building, or are they doing this via a MyChart or something like that? Or
we have a platform system. We're working with a group called Across Matrix, and they have built through a third-party build, this company called Greenlight, and they actually can integrate the EHRs and pull them into the platform. So it's a cool cascade. And the amazing thing, too, is you can pull in, to our point earlier, we were talking about all the disparate places you might go to get your epilepsy care or care for your other comorbidities. And, you can plug in multiple institutions to the system. So you can pull in everything in one place.
wow, well, this was kind of part of the dream of this huge investment we made in the past decade in healthcare IT and healthcare information exchanges and all these kinds of things. Sounds like you guys are trying to make it actually work and become actionable for epilepsy.
It's important to note that this becomes a part of a revenue generation for the foundation as well, because we are and we make it very, very transparent for the patient to understand that we will monetize this data through a licensing agreement. It will be de-identified and tokenized, but through that licensing agreement, EFA will receive funding that will pour directly back into our mission and allow us to provide better services to our community.
So if I'm a commercial, pharma company or someone who wants to conduct research using the data you've collected, I can partner up with Epilepsy Foundation. And
actually, it's not with the foundation itself. We have a licensing agreement with a company called Aurelis that will partner with pharma on our behalf, because we want to be very true to who we are as a foundation. We want to be and are committed to be pharma agnostic.
that makes sense. So you can have a implementation partner and stay focused on your mission.
Absolutely. And we also know that the Epilepsy Foundation, it's not our wheelhouse to run at the same pace as pharma. So in recognizing that, we recognize that having a for-profit company that's able to do that on our behalf is what's best. But again, when we talk about those insights, one of the agreements we have with the for-profit company is that any insights will be given back to the foundation for us to be able to communicate to our patients. So again, it's not only the research that we're doing at the foundation, but what also happens truly in the industry, we can report those impacts back. Because again, we talked about the patient saying, I gave my data, I was a part of the study, I don't know what happened, right? I don't know where it went. We are now committed to making sure any information, any data that is received by our pharma partners, that we receive information back about how that data was used and what the outcomes were.
That's really cool. And you can offer a report or something to participants and help them understand their contribution.
It has a dashboard, so it'll pop right up in their dashboard. They'll be able to see that information. Really excited about it because I think this really does allow for patients who have historically been left out of studies and trials to become a part of them.
Yeah.
We know that 80% of our patient population receives their care in community healthcare systems. And those are not the places where we typically go for data collection. And they don't have a pathway to get into the pipeline for studies and trials. And Empower will give them that opportunity.
So you mentioned this is launching now for people that want to learn more about this, like me. Is there links or pages on the epilepsy.com website?
You can go to epilepsy.com and you can find it in the About Us, and right under Research and Funding, you'll see Empowered, and you can learn more about that program. The other thing I just wanted to mention about the Empowered platform is that we talk a lot about, people wanting to find ways to support the foundation. And to B's point about the community centers, we recognize that, everybody might not be able to donate funding, but donating your data can be a way to steward that as well. And we want to give people that way to support it. And what we actually find when we talk to patients, a lot of patients, not speaking for everybody, but a lot of people say, I want people to have a lot of access to my data because I really am not happy with the status quo and I want something to change. So we have to also give people encouragement by giving them that information back that the status quo is changing. And so having that relationship is really important to that trust.
There's a way to regain a little bit of that control and take forward steps and make a contribution, right? And do something about it in a positive way. I think that makes me feel good about all of us is, when you talk to patients that participate in studies, inevitably they'll tell you, I know, it's early and it's investigational, but maybe this is going to help the next person. Maybe I'm going to make a contribution to help the next person. That altruistic outlook that people invariably have just makes me feel better about everything. Sounds like you're going to bring a new kind of opportunity along those lines to a lot of people.
As a part of our mission, the word connection, right? For those living with epilepsy who have not found their community, this is an opportunity for them to do so. Because when you enter into the empowered system, you also enter into the foundation. And we are able to direct you to tools and services to benefit your quality of life and also to help you find your community. Again, I draw a lot from my lived experience of not knowing anyone else living with epilepsy for many years.
Wow.
Even though we're 1 in 26,
yeah,
it was because people do not talk about it. So it's hard to find.
It's also the physicians that don't have access to the data. And one of the things Kent and I are excited about was the technology that we've developed in the past and are developing at Cadence Neuroscience is that anytime the physicians want more information about their patients that have been implanted, they can get that information. We record the data from the patients. So you don't, again, have to wait those 3 months and look at a seizure diary. You can see the effect of the neuromodulation on the abnormal interictal EEG between seizures and intervene to make that EEG more normal. And the beauty of the device world is that you can do this remotely. The phone can communicate with the cloud and you can pull down that information. And I know that our Mayo collaborators, they're very excited about that because they want to know more about their patients too. And just getting how many seizures have you had in the last 3 months isn't enough. And the pace of responding, you shouldn't have to do that in this age of innovation. I think we share that common belief that information is knowledge and it's empowering both for the patient and for the motivated clinicians. I think we're all about a better future, aren't we, for people with epilepsy and their caregivers? And knowledge I think, is the path for that.
You're talking about knowledge, and I'm sitting here giddy because tomorrow we will launch our chatbot. Its name is Sage. And our chatbot is just what you said. It's about making sure people have knowledge, making sure people have information. The unique thing about the chatbot that we're launching tomorrow is that it only pulls information from epilepsy.com. As you know, epilepsy.com is 20 years old. It is a wealth of information, physician verified. And we want to make sure our population has the right information. We don't want them going on ChatGPT to get information to answer their questions.
Right. You've got a great curated data set to work with for training a large language model. So interesting.
And so tomorrow it will launch publicly. We're very excited about it. We have been doing a lot of work with AWS, who also is a part of our Empower platform through their Health Data Lake. And we're so excited about this because just as you said, Doug, I think back at the times where I had a 15-minute appointment every 6 months and I have a lot of questions and I can't get them answered because mainly I'm nervous, right? And so I forget my questions. This way the questions can be in my pocket through the chatbot. And also we know that sometimes the language that physicians use can be intimidating. So we also want to provide a tool in which you're coming out of your appointment, you didn't understand something the physician said, and now you can get clarifying information for you and your family.
Because we all use a lot of jargon inadvertently just because, right?
Right. And the patient, although they don't understand, feel intimidated to say that in that moment. But as you said, for a resource for physicians, they can say, hey, if there's anything that you have further questions about or you need more information, please log on to epilepsy.com. Because they know that the information that they're going to get there is going to be physician led and physician verified. So tomorrow I invite you to jump on and play with it
That's awesome.
on epilepsy.com.
That's going to be up front, I suppose, on the website.
Yes, it's been about 4 years in the making, and what we realized is technology caught up to our idea and then surpassed it. So it's actually very cost effective now for nonprofits to invest in this type of technology, whereas 4 years ago it just was not.
Can it help me do my taxes or figure out what to eat for dinner or just epilepsy questions?
If it's on epilepsy.com, it can help.
Okay. All right. Fair. I'll accept that limitation. That sounds reasonable.
And we really wanted to focus on that because, the guardrails, the chatbot does not give medical advice, just clarification and information. But unlike other platforms that utilize AI, it will not hallucinate. So if it does not have the answer, it will not provide an answer. And it will direct you to our helpline.
You're really stepping it up here. There's a lot of new things you're rolling out.
Well, that's why we needed a chief research and innovation officer, right? We got all this stuff going on.
So you find a way to keep Caitlin from sleeping or what?
Basically.
Oh, that's really encouraging for those of us in the trenches developing new therapies. We have a lot of things in common. Sounds like fundraising is something important to you. You can't develop a new technology without fundraising. Our quest for knowledge, and so that really guides treatment. So we want knowledge-based treatments that make sense, not just, well, let's try this, let's try that. And the ability to, in the field of neuromodulation, that no one has been able to do before, to actually see the effects of neuromodulation on the interictal EEG, for us has been just spectacular. You can just tune that parameters in just about real time. And for us, that's a huge breakthrough. And again, it's knowledge. It's empowering.
Being able to do that noise reduction that you guys are doing, it's so important to have that real-time feedback. So it's game-changing for neuromodulation. So that's really exciting.
We're excited to be moving up forward. And I have to interject here, let all our listeners know this. When our little company Cadence was very, very new, when Doug and I were starting this, and it was being funded off our credit cards and being hidden from our wives so they wouldn't know how much money we were spending on on this. We actually received a new therapy commercialization grant from Epilepsy Foundation. And that was extremely helpful and timely. And I think Epilepsy Foundation and their support is one reason we're able to continue on our mission and our hopes of bringing a new therapy to the community. And it's a long journey for us. We're still working away at it, but those first steps were critical and certainly helped by Epilepsy Foundation. And some of the equipment that we designed and were able to get in the clinic is still in the clinic, collecting some very interesting and unique data sets. Thank you. And thank you for the support for everybody who supports Epilepsy Foundation. And it's resulted in some real advancement already.
And it's nice to get affirmation when you're just starting. Someone else who's knowledgeable in this space. I think you have something there. We're going to provide some funding.
So we're not all alone.
Exactly.
Right.
For those of us that are trying to, again, improve the future, right, of people with epilepsy and their caregivers. So,
well, and I think the other special thing about that in the Epilepsy Foundation is our review process includes experts, subject matter experts from the physician side, the clinical side, the scientific side, but also from the community. And so the fact that the community recognizes the possibility of the technology and prioritizes it, that's weighs into our decisions for how we think about what we fund. So, that's another point of encouragement, I think, for a lot of companies who might be seeking other investment, in the future.
It is about relationships to be successful. It does take a village to create a new technology, and it'd be great to be part of that village with you.
We're building the community that our patients want to see. We're building that community in partnership and collaboration because we all have one goal to bring forth technology and innovations in a time frame that matters. Patients are waiting for this today, and it's an urgent matter. And making sure that overall the community understands that the epilepsy community is in need of better services, devices, and medication.
And I want to do a quick shout out to the pediatric patients, which is our focus. None of the other intracranial neuromodulation companies have an indication for children. That's our only indication. That's where we want to start because for years, children that get epilepsy, they have to wait so long to have access to this technology. So that's what motivates us every day.
That's a really tough segment for sure.
The Epilepsy Foundation is so proud to be in partnership with you and the work that you're doing.
Well, the foundation is in good hands. I can tell that.
So you guys have an entrepreneur kind of training course that you run that I think you're registering for now.
We do, yes. So we have applications open for our accelerator course, which is a 6-week virtual startup boot camp that Sonia Dumanis runs it with me. And that's in partnership also with the Danny Did Foundation. Tom Stanton has been a really important supporter of the program. And
He's
so,
fantastic.
we give folks through that participate in that course. We select 5 startups to participate. And then at the end, we have a pitch day, and winners get complimentary access to the diagnostic and tracking roundtable. So they become members. We kind of bring them into the ecosystem and give them some access to some content matter experts. If you're in need of regulatory expertise, we have a specialist for you. If you are interested in go-to-market strategy, we have an expert for you. So we kind of bring that to the startups, and then they can also participate in our Shark Tank or our other funding mechanisms, like you said. So that'll be opening up in the fall, actually, shortly here.
Shark Tank will be?
Yeah, our Shark Tank applications are going to open in the fall, and we'll follow the same format as last year, which was a reinvention of having our community Shark Tank. So now we have actually 2 tanks. So we're increasing the pie. But we have 2 Shark Tanks, a community Shark Tank, which is really focused on innovations that may not commercialize, but are important to the community and still serve an unmet need, but may not be something where people are seeking investment necessarily. And then we also have an investment Shark Tank, which is more of a traditional, like the show.
Commercial track.
Yeah, and then that's actual investment through our collaborators at the Neuro Impact Fund.
You have some investors present, and how long a pitch do you let people give?
Well, we used to be very sharky. We used to do 5 minutes of a pitch. And
That's pretty short.
And so now we do 10 because we want people to be able to explain it. And then we do a Q&A too. So the Shark's Last Questions, we live stream it for the community. So we always get folks from all over who tune in to listen to the competition. And it's a really it's an uplifting approach because it's a lot of hope in the Shark Tank. Like everything is very forward looking and it's very cool technology. And sometimes it's areas where you've been successful in other entities and they bring it to epilepsy. And that's just a really important space that we have to fill. And so those kind of programs are they're why I go to bed late and get up early to work. So.
And I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that we can find more information about that on the website.
Epilepsy.com/Shark Tank.
Okay, that was pretty easy to remember. And I can ask Sage too. Can I have Sage make a Shark Tank submission for me?
Oh boy.
A winning submission.
What? That's interesting.
Just thought I'd ask.
Our sharks are revealed at the, so you have no way of knowing who's in the tank until you get there.
I mean, it's on the site, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Okay, no, I promise I won't do that.
So, Caitlin, reach out to David and tell him we need to put that guardrail up.
Exactly. Yep. I told you, he's the tech guy.
Sorry. Poor guy, I'll be his worst nightmare.
No, David loves a challenge. He loves a challenge. We throw them at him
Yeah,
often.
he has to love the challenge.
Well, thanks again for joining us. I'm sure a lot of people that have listened in are going to want to follow up. We turned over a lot of very interesting stones here and learned about a lot of new things on the website that are coming up. Can you point us or provide some pointers to people on things they might look into next in terms of how to get to epilepsy.com and navigate the site, maybe some allied sites they ought to take a look at?
Well, you can find all the information you need on epilepsy.com. And within that site, you'll be able to, again, access our chatbot. That'll be on our front page as of tomorrow.
Well,
But also,
Sage will direct us to other resources. Okay.
absolutely. And then also, for those who would like to talk with someone directly, there's our helpline, which is 1-800-332-1000. And
Okay.
that is 24 hours. And then also, starting as of tomorrow as well, there's a chat option on our website as well. If you go to epilepsy.com and type in helpline, you can access that chat line.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And thank you again for the support. I mean, Epilepsy Foundation is one of the reasons we're making headway.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's always fun to talk to you and learn updates. It's always exciting. I always know when you reach out that something good something good's going to get here. So thank you.
Yeah, well, it's going to be an exciting next 12 months for us, I think. So
Yeah, thanks so much. And great to meet both of you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Doug.
You too, Doug. So wonderful to meet you.
thanks so much for joining us for Seizure Diaries.
We hope you find these conversations helpful. If you do, we hope you'll consider sharing our podcast with others.
Everybody says it, but it really does help others to discover the show when you rate, review, and share. You can find Seizure Diaries wherever you listen to podcasts.
We'll see you next time.
You're getting better at this.
You say that every time.